Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You hear me okay?
Yeah, it's
Uh,
awesome to talk to you.
well, good talking to you, man, for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad that we worked it out this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I had mine it went at 4:30 and I went, oh, I remember the thing that happened yesterday, which was my bad, was I ended up staying in Nebraska a day longer just
Okay.
because workouts and everything. And I didn't want to bail on my boys that were fighting. You know what I mean? I wanted to train with them. And then, so I spun off real quick and tried to do that and ended up staying one extra day and completely forgot, you know what I mean? In that aspect, like,
No
whoops,
problem
my
at all.
bad. So
No
I'm pretty
problem.
flighty. If I don't, everything is based on if I write it down, I'm good. I can do anything on a schedule. If I have it written down, I'm great. If I gotta, if
I'm the
I'm left to
same
my
way.
own vice, yeah. If I'm left to my own vice, we got problems.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't work without any schedule.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it is. You know, I tell people, especially fighters now that I'm coaching and stuff, is, you know, I
Yeah.
say, if you can, like, literally, you put this thing out there, there's a schedule. You could walk up, say you and your friend showed up and say, I wonder where Jens is. You can go, well, I can tell you on Thursday at 3 o'clock, he's going to be right here riding this bike. Thursday at 3 o'clock, show up, and that's where I'll be riding that bike.
Yeah,
It's to
yeah.
a T. I mean, it's my diet and everything like that, you know, and that's kind of one of the issues I've had learning how to be a coach now
Yeah.
is some guys, you know, you just have to babysit them and drag them and pull them around, and you know, you don't know what they're doing. I'm like, you know how much of this stuff you actually have to do on your own?
Yeah.
It's not all done in the gym. I don't know what you're eating, or I don't know when you're sleeping, or if you're running, or you know, there's so many things you have to do on your own
Yeah.
that it's tough. You got to babysit them the whole time, you know.
So you're just doing the coaching stuff, or are you training by yourself still?
No, I was training with I was in Kearney, Nebraska,
Yeah.
and I was working with the fighters out there,
Ah, okay,
and
yeah.
so, but am I training myself? I guess I'm doing a little bit. I mean, I'm
Okay.
lifting, I'm running, I'm, you know, staying in shape, but I don't know how hard I'm really working out right now because
Okay.
I'm totally trying to duck the question that's going to come popping up because I'm
Yeah.
absolutely not going to say it. I'm not going to
Okay.
tell anybody ever. I'm not going to say I'm retired because I don't want to. I don't want. I never want to do, and this has been for a long time. I've never wanted to be the guy. I'm going to retire, get all this. You know, people say, "Hey, thank you for
Yeah.
everything," and then I come back. Then I retire
Yeah.
again, and then I come back. So I'd rather just kind of fade. If it's been about 3 years and you haven't seen me fight, oh yeah, I'm retired. So
Yeah, it,
we'll
it
just see how
wouldn't
it
fit
goes.
to you. It
Um,
wouldn't be your
it
style if you
it's
if you
not
say
me.
I'm retiring or stuff.
Yeah, I can't. I can't. It's not. You know, again, exactly. I mean, I'm glad you said that. You might be the first one to grab that. That it's just not what I do. It's not
Nah, nah,
how
no
I.
way,
It's
no
not how I
way,
do things. You know, I just can't do
no way.
everything. I can't do stuff by the book. No, I just kidding.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's funny. You're looking quite younger than I thought.
yeah,
I
right.
know I know yourself. I know you from videos and from pictures and stuff. But damn, you fought at UFC
22.
2022. Damn, this is a long time ago.
It's hard, man. I made the debut against Alfie Alcaraz. I swear it was UFC
Awesome.
22, so it had to be 1990. Yeah, it was 1999 because I mean Bob Shamrock, may he rest in peace, was in my corner,
Yeah.
and it was that fight that I'm trying to remember how the planes worked. It was Pat and Monty because
Yeah.
Matt Hughes was fighting, Jeremy Horn was on the plane, and they were all coming on, and something happened. We had a big delay. I think it had to be either in Texas or in Louisiana somewhere, and we were taking a little one to go to, uh, God, Lake Charles, Louisiana is where they used to have
Mm.
the fights. I mean, because again, only 3 states would have it. So I think it was Lake Charles. So anyways, wherever we were doing a connecting flight, and I remember I'm starstruck as all be damn. I'm like, and I know Monty Cox from the Full Contact Fighter. I see Jeremy and Matt. I'm like, I don't know what to say, but they were about to give up their seats and put me and Nathan on the plane, and they were going to take the car. So that's kind of how I met him. And then I got to talk to Pat in the locker room, and then that's kind of how I met MFS. But I was there with Bob Shamrock and did that first fight.
Awesome, awesome. That's some nice stories to hear. We have done some written interview before, if you remember.
Yeah.
And I was asking you about the underground fights you have done before the UFC.
Oof. In
Don't
gym,
you remember?
gymnasiums, wall mats. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, yeah. Can you give me some example or some nice story?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's so long ago. I mean, the biggest thing is I still remember there was one fight we did. I really think it was actually on 3 sets of wall mats, literally wall mats put down on the floor, and we were fighting, and we were fighting there. And then I still remember when we were first starting out, and I'd fight guys 220 pounds. I'd fight guys whatever size, and the only difference between wrestling practice and the fight is I'd take my shirt off. I had my socks on, I had my wrestling shoes on. I had all of that until I got into the Bosch shooting. But before, it literally were like gym challenges. Only they would allow everything. So people would come in, and it would be like uncontrolled sparring with wrestling and submissions. So there wasn't, because there was no real regulations. There was no rules. So what are you going to have when you're sparring? You know what I mean? But then it was when I got into the Bosch Routins, then they then they cleaned everything up a little bit, but there was still no time limit and stuff. Oh, buddy, it's crazy.
Don't you miss those times?
Huh?
Don't you miss those times?
No. I
No?
love, the only thing I miss right now is that the judges have had their head straight up their butts and didn't evolve with the sport, because to this day they're still doing some of these stupidest things. Like I just seen in an RFA, Efren Escudero lose to Dakota Cochran.
Yeah.
Dakota Cochran spent the second and third round, and I shit you not when I say this, he probably battled out of about 13 different submission attempts, landed nothing, but stayed on top and won. No love, man. It does not pay. I tell my wrestlers right now, I got a 2-time national champion that I'm about to uncork on the world, and I have a 125-pounder that I'm about to uncork on the world, and my son. He's a hot kid. There he is. And you say hi, Carson? Hi. There you go. There he is. See, you got to wave. Can you wave? There you go.
How old is your son?
He's 5.
Yeah,
He's
my son is in bed right now. He's 4, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I got
4 and a half. He's getting 5.
Yeah, this is my boy Carson.
Nice age.
And then Hayden Springs about to come running in here. Hold on, buddy. I'm gonna do this interview. You gotta no climbing, no monkey gym right now. All right. And then Hayden's off to the side here, so watch her here. She comes pounding up. She is 2.5. Hi. Say hi.
She's cute.
And then my daughter Madeline, she's 10, 11. From a previous time before the family. No. So anyway, yeah, it was, I don't know where we were. Sorry, they just kind of came in and jumped in on me.
No problem.
We can talk anywhere. Where was I?
Talking about the evolution and the judges and the referees.
Oh, there it is, the judges. Well, that's the one thing is, Dakota Cochran and Effie Escudero, and I couldn't believe that I was just stunned. I'm like, I go, you got to be kidding me. I cannot believe. And again, not taking away anything from Dakota, but as a fighter, here's the thing, when you stop doing any kind of offense and you start defending a choke, here's what the judges should do, and you're going to be the first one. I remember back in Japan, I think they did it a long time ago. They had it, and I don't know why they don't do it right now, and they should, because otherwise they're going to kill grappling, because that's right. I was talking about Rafion, my wrestlers. I won't even let them go. They're going to stay straight wrestling, because guess what? That wins. You want next best thing to a knockdown by a punch is a takedown somehow. And you take them down, you land in their guard, and you make no transitions of any kind, and they're treated like a knockdown. You win. So, and people know it. But now if we did that, the minute you go into a submission and you start, and having the judges that are smart enough, you can coach them, but having them, when you stop doing anything offensive and you immediately start going to try and defend this thing, all it takes, literally, one judge goes, catch. Some judge outside goes, catch. There's your bonus points. Now you're trying for submissions because you catch point. That's like a knockdown. That means you were in a submission to the point that you started struggling and gave up everything and started trying to get out of it. That's because what happens when you get hit so hard, bam, and you start wobbling, man, you will take off running, whatever it does, but you're not doing anything offensive because you're trying to get your feet back, you're trying to get your wits back, you're trying to do all that. That's why you can score a 10-8 round by doing that. But if I put you in a triangle choke for a minute and a half and you pop out of it, everybody starts cheering because you survived, but the judge is now going to give you points like you did something. And so they just did that right there. That's all they would have to do, especially the UFC if they did it. Brought in the ref and one more referee on the outside, and they both had a little card like they do in freestyle. Touch. Touch. It's a fall. If two people raise their hand on a 5-point throw, it's over. Done.
Yeah.
Same thing. Catch. Now the guy is scoring. That's like writing time or something in college. He's scoring bonus points. So now there's a reason to be on the ground.
Yeah. But I don't think they would include it any day. I think this is what will ruin the sport every time.
What it does is it hinders the sport because it doesn't show the true sport of MMA, meaning the whole idea behind MMA was all styles, whatever best at, and you do this. And the reality is by having these judges that still do things like this, you're forcing everybody to become a wrestler because the takedown is so important. You're killing grappling because being on your back is, I still don't understand why people don't understand it, is the safest place in the guard. Going for submission attempts is extremely offensive. I mean, it causes me all kinds of problems, But to this day, so really what you're doing is you're supporting the tough man style in the aspect that if I stand in front of you and I shadow box more aggressively than you do, and then if I take you down, and even though I end up in your guard, I fake and I'm just sitting there again. You know what? That's the one thing. When I was world champion, I was beautiful at it. Stay busy in the guard, body, head, body, head. And guess what? Call me boring. Call me what you will. But the reality was I'm not standing up until the referee stands me up. So, and then we can get into that little aspect about referees. Here's the thing. No fight should be boring if the referee is really doing their job, meaning 10 seconds of that titty mashing against the cage, or there should be, I don't care if you pass guard, if you're bored, I'm standing you up. That's the referee, man. The referee has to be that guy that you have to, because two fighters get in there and they're locked and they're trying to stay safe. I mean, it's a catch-22. I'm not going to let this hand go free just to be exciting so he can hit me. I mean, what? But yet I got to be smart. And I'm in a sport where MMA itself is still small enough that if I get cut from the UFC, this is the biggest promotion. There isn't too many other places to go. And so damn you for trying to be safe and get your W, but at the same time you're getting ridiculed because you're trying to be safe and get the W. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, as you mentioned, you were the first UFC light heavyweight champion. A long time ago. And you're part of the history of the UFC. It's not like today. You get the belt, you get the win. It was the first time. It was really some kind of making history. How are you thinking about that today?
I think the hardest part is I have to basically cut my career in half, and people see the losses and the struggles in the second half of the career because life caught up to me, but not just that, it was, the sport caught up to me and I just wasn't progressing with it because, family, and you're just trying to, you're just dedicated. But in the beginning, it was, again, we fought. It's pretty incredible to think about, and I just had a kid. It was funny. He's like, "You were a world champion in the UFC?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You were?" And so then I get defensive in the aspect. I go, "Yep." He goes, I go, all right, that's it. And I sat him down. I go, I am the godfather of the lightweight division. And he's
That's
like,
it.
you mean? I go, it means there was no 155 pounds until I started it.
Yeah.
Really? I go, yes, I started it. And he goes, you did? I go, yeah, and I won the world title. And he goes, it was funny because he goes, well, you think, and this is where you train, right? I'm at the gym in Nebraska. And he goes, there'd be some pictures of you, wouldn't there? And everybody in the gym goes, they're right behind you. Oh, that's you? I go, dang, do I look that old? I was like, do I
That's
look that old? So,
awesome.
but no, I really take pride, in doing something when it wasn't the cool thing to do. And again, it
Yeah.
was only legal in 3 states. They didn't even have the weight class. And to go out there and pioneer something, I always tell people, Gabe Rudiger, I think, said it on The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
He said, BJ Penn will be remembered forever. This guy will be remembered forever. Jens Pulver will be forgotten about in 10 minutes. Reality is this. Jack Johnson is the first ever boxing heavyweight champion. Ever.
Yeah.
I don't know the 10th, the 11th, the 13th, the 25th, the 40th heavyweight champion. I don't know
Yeah.
who they are. But at this much time later, you're always going to, well, who is the first? So as long as this sport goes 400 years down the road,
Yeah.
and my name is always going to be there as the guy who started that. So yeah, that's pretty incredible. But at the same token, when you're humbling yourself, like, oh, I lost. I know later on when I get older, I'll be able to, and I step away from the sport, and I'm coaching, I'll be able to embrace it more than, you just kind of caught in the moment when you were still trying to fight. Like, how did I go from being this world champion to now I'm just struggling, and you just don't understand it. And people want to say age and things like that, but it's not just age. It's not just the age. It's if I do say age, it's the age of my soul, man. The stress and just the depression, anxiety, and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
You lose your direction sometimes, and that's what happened. I was hell bent in the beginning. You weren't going to stop me because I made a promise to my mother, and I made a promise to myself that I was going to do this because I had one man. I had one man in mind, and I was going to just ruin him. And it took me 20 years to do it, but I told him, I said, one day, dude, I'm going to tell everybody about you beating on my mother and you punching on me and my brothers and sisters. And I go, and everybody's going to listen. And that's what drove me for as long as it did.
Yeah. I guess that was the biggest incentive that made you work so hard for your career, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it made me give up. I guess I wouldn't say I gave up everything, but it gave me that ability to migrate, so to speak. When you're sitting on a train and you're going to Iowa for 2.5 days, and you're like, you leave everything that you know. You know what I mean? Everything that I've known as a kid, everything I was in college. I gave up where I lived, and I just showed up in the Midwest, just kind of like, woof. But like I said, I had just met those guys at the UFC. I'd seen them fight on TV, and when I got here and I seen everybody training, I just thought, oh, I'm in heaven. So I just, you just kind of take off. But yeah, there's a lot to say to that nowadays with kids watching the UFC, and you can't even get them to pay a gym membership, let alone figure out how they're going to make a living. And they just assume if they're going to fight, everything should be given to them, everything should be paid for. And the last thing they have to worry about is paying for a gym membership. They're a fighter, so they have to pay. It's probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, but it's about as true as, at least for the majority. Now that's, again, there's always the minority of it, but a vast group of them, they don't want to pay. And then what's funny is, not only do they not want to pay, they want you to stay. They want the coaches to stay there and coach them, but they don't want to pay them. Going, do you know how volunteer works? Because I'm not volunteering my time if I'm losing my home and my kids are, I don't get to see my family. Who volunteers their time? That's not volunteering anymore. You know what I mean? That's a job. And in jobs, people get paid, but I don't get paid. So it's volunteering. So I'm going to leave when I want to. So that's just kind of the difference. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have tried to do MMA gyms or have dealt with the MMA philosophies that some of them just don't want to pay.
Yeah. Talking about your son, what do you think if your son one day tells you that he wants to be an MMA fighter, what would you say to him? Would you allow him to fight?
Oh, for sure. As long as he does what I made a promise to my mother. I said, I will graduate college first, and then I'm fighting. because I was in the middle of college when fighting it really started going, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go. Now this is wrestling with training wheels, meaning I can stand up, I can punch, I can box, but worst case scenario, I can wrestle. And again, it's so hard to make that Olympic team or that national team.
Yeah.
I wasn't that good, you know what I mean? And so, but to be able to tie it all in, I was very good and I loved it, you know what I mean? So I was able to do it like that. But, if he wants to do it, in between his engineering classes, absolutely. But do I want an engineer? Absolutely. Because this day and age, this kid is born with an iPad in his hand. You know what I mean? He figured out the code one time and then changed it on us.
Yeah.
And he can get on the PlayStation and he can turn it on. He plays games. He can go into Netflix. He can watch his cartoons. He's got it all figured out. I'm like, we still had to be at home. I still remember dialing a phone like this. Whoop.
Yeah.
Whoop. You had to do the roll call,
of course,
or you had to turn the tape over if you're on the answering machine. Oh, you messed up. Got to turn the tape over, So I hope that, if he does want to do it, with the education first, more power to him. I won't stop him. But it's the same thing with wrestling right now. I'm real protective with him right now. And I have a hard time coaching him. And I don't know really why. I mean, I coach others a lot, and I enjoy it. But I have a hard time coaching him because I don't want to ever feel like, I guess because of the extremes that I came through with my father being as abusive as he was, and I was raised by other coaches. I was raised by mentors. I kind of want I want to find the right coaches and then let them coach Carson so it doesn't seem like I'm like lecturing him or I'm coming down on him when I'm actually coaching, because sometimes you got to be a hard ass when you're a coach. It just happens. But when it's your son, he's not going to see that. And of course, I'm not yelling at little kids, but point is, you got to be strict and you got to be stern, and that's something that they'll learn, because that's the regimen of being an athlete. Is you got to be strict. You have to have a strict diet. You have to have a strict, no matter what age, you have to at least be in there and train. So you have to have a regimen. So I'm kind of scared at being that regimented coach and having him take it personal. So I'd rather just stand there, be his buddy and his biggest fan and his supporter, and then put him in front of great coaches and let them teach him.
Yeah, great. That sounds great. Absolutely. Another thing is many fighters argue about the small pay they get from the organizations. We were talking about that a few minutes ago with the volunteering and stuff. What do you think about the payment today the fighters get? It's awesome what they get for fighting compared to the time you have fought.
Yeah. I guess everybody wants to look at the idea of, like say, for example, the UFC. Yeah. They make so much money doing this and that, and they pay the guys only this and that. But some people get it, but what I've learned when it's all said and done is, like, for example, the UFC has done a phenomenal job at building their brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when they came in, because that's what they were doing from day one, was building the brand, or they wouldn't even have the platform that these people have now to fight on, to showcase on.
Yeah.
The one thing that I'm learning now that the sport, I guess my prime was not the time, you know what I mean? Still, UFC just to go, we were finally in Vegas and things like that, in Atlantic City, but not to the magnitude it is now. And these guys, like I said, with the fighters that I have now, for them is more than anything, take an example from the UFC. Build your brand. Yeah. So when you're not fighting, your brand is more than just stepping in that cage and just fighting. Build your brand. Instead of fighting the UFC and complaining about the UFC, because they did a phenomenal job of building their brand, and they're giving you an opportunity. No matter what, all said and done, money-wise, that's not a thing. But my name, it's taken me to realize my name is a lot bigger than I even think it is. Yeah, I don't have that. I call myself popular. I don't call myself famous, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. But the reality is I'm starting to learn a lot more now that I'm walking away from fighting, that I can relate it to business a lot better than I thought I could. That there is a lot that you are actually going through on a daily basis that is exactly what they're going through, no matter what they're doing, be it engineering, computer building, woodworking, cooking. It's still the same regimented, disciplined, You need to be picked up sometimes. Sometimes you need to be lectured. You know what I mean? So a little bit of back and forth. But I think, again, learning how to, going back to the pay, could it be bigger? Hey, in the great world of things, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, we would all, but at the same token, people can't really say that because the UFC is a monster. Yeah. And that's what I tell people all the time. The UFC is gigantic. And they, again, all props to them. They've done a phenomenal job building their brand. MMA is not big. And if people really wanted to stop complaining, I mean, they need to stop complaining about how the UFC does it and start asking, why did Strikeforce have to sell out? Why is Pride gone? Why is the WC, which had unreal fights? In fact, it's funny. Sure. The same fights you're seeing now with Anthony Pettis and these guys, they were in the WC, but they had to sell because they weren't the UFC. So it's kind of a catch-22 in the aspect, and I understand Dana and Lorenzo, and I get it. And I've always known it is, where were those people when Lorenzo and the Fertittas were losing $2 million a show as they were building something? Yeah. And Dana kept saying, when we get on TV, we're going to get huge. We're going to get, we've got a plan. Nobody talks about that. Where was everybody then with their hands out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when they were losing out money, but they stayed dedicated to it. And again, if they really cared about the sport of MMA, fix the amateur, help build the smaller shows, support the other shows in the aspect of, as long as they have a crowd base and they can have that, then the sport of MMA is growing up. Leave the UFC alone because they've done just a great job of brand building. Brand building. And so it's two separate, to me, it's two separate worlds. But fighters, yes, I wish and hope, and one day they all can get paid more. But I think, again, the sport of MMA would have to get bigger. We can't all direct it just at the UFC.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. In my eyes, you're one of the best ambassadors of this sport, honestly. And you see many of the older guys working for the UFC outside of fighting. Wouldn't you be interested in something like that?
I would love to.
Yeah.
But, I've never been asked, never been offered, and
I can't understand.
The thing is this, the other thing is I have real bad, and it's kind of, I hate admitting my weaknesses, but I have real bad social anxiety.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I literally don't call people, not because I don't want to talk to them or I don't try to get a hold of them or I don't call companies or other people. It's because I just I can talk myself out. I'm like, they don't want to talk to me. I don't want to bug them. I don't want to bother. Really? So some people are like, dang, man, you never call, you never doing this. I'm like, I just didn't want to bug anybody. So it's something that I have to work on. And I'm trying to get more active. I get more active on the Facebook. I get more active on Twitter, but there's a part of me where, again, I'm kind of in a catch-22. Sometimes I see that the attention freaks me out, scares me to death. But at the same token, I love it because I want to work with kids. I want to go out there and I love to talk. I love to talk, be it on the radio. And I would love more than anything in the world to continue to work with the UFC. I think there's a lot of things I can do that a lot of people don't focus on with the UFC, which would be an ambassador and go around the high schools and help those kids that are being bullied, man. Bully the bullies, and, and do things like that and go one bigger than what they're doing now and actually be out there and building a society behind what they're doing. I mean, they've created a world that's monstrous. Yeah. And now if they went in there and they created a gentler world on the side and helped kids and things, I mean, those are the things that I'd really want to focus on. But again, my social anxiety, I just kind of, it's been the downfall of my career and the downfall of basically me is I just don't feel, I can't get myself to be confident enough to call people because I just feel like I'm bugging them.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Another job on the line is the new head coach for Team Alpha Male.
I know. Again.
Yeah. But I guess
sure.
Dwayne Ludwig was just there for 1 year, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you hire?
I don't. Again, I'm like, maybe. And now here's the thing. It's ironic because I have to tell people, and it will lead to an answer. But I long wind everything, my friend. Get ready.
Okay.
No, I don't. I have to tell people all the time at meet and greets and things like that. The first thing I do is grab the microphone and I'll tell people, "Hey, if you see me over there, make sure, no matter when, where, it doesn't matter. Come up to me and say hello." Anywhere in the world, I've always said, people have known this about me from day one. I will not turn a fan down. I will not turn away from anybody, even if it means I have to stand there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when it comes to me, I just don't have it. I just can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't even know. Sorry, this phone keeps going off. It's driving me crazy.
No problem. Nice ringtone.
I hit my Super Mario Brothers. Hey, Carson, 1 second, please. Can you come here, buddy? Can you hand this to mommy and find out what they want, because they just keep bugging me and bugging me and bugging me? There you go. All right, sorry. Go ahead, please.
No problem.
Read it.
I guess we're through with the interview, but the last one, before we let you get back to your work and stuff, you can tell us anything you want about Never Fly Solo, your project.
Okay, now you're going back in again to my heartfelt. That's one thing that I want people, again, with the idea of kids being, battered women and children, growing up the way that I did, anxiety and depression, real bad anxiety and depression, social anxiety. The idea behind Never Fly Solo was, I want people to create a group where they can see like-minded people. Because once again, I can rise above anything if it's written down in front of me. If I hold myself accountable, and all you have to do is, if you do things in a group and you say, "Hey, I'll be there," and if 2 people are waiting on you to run or lift, you're going to show up because you hold yourself accountable once you put it out there. So we started doing Never Fly Solo as a way of, you can write about depression, write about what you're feeling, and like-minded people will be able to follow along. On top of that, outside of Never Fly Solo, the one I want to talk about more than anything that I do love, because, and I do love Never Fly Solo, but this project that we've been working on, because it goes so hand in hand with what I was talking about MMA needing to be bigger. And anybody can go to it. It's MMAfutureslive.com. So the future, and then it's live.com. What we do is, we've gone out now and we interview. We're raising the money to get bigger and bigger, but we want to go to the gyms and get those kids that are just starting out, that are amateurs, that are just starting to go pro, that are doing those things, and bring attention to them, and give them some media and be able to interview them. And then we stream the amateur shows, you know what I mean? And so now think about it. You're fighting amateur, and people can watch it from all over the world and watch you fight amateur. Nobody's been able to do that before. So we have MMAfutureslive.com. That's what we started doing. We've had 2 shows. We're going to do it again April 11th. We'll do the RFA undercard. Great. So, again, we're catching kids when they're first coming out and allowing people. So if anybody out there, again, you can write MMA Futures Live, and even if we can't get to you, we can do what we're doing right now. We'll Skype you in. We'll do the interview. And give your gyms the plug, and that's the other thing, is help build MMA gyms rather than just build, when they do, again, the all access UFC, the Fight Pass. They come in, they'll come in and they'll film the fighter, but nobody films the coach, his classes, the gym. You got to go find that on your own. Well, now, knowing me, being the pioneer that I am, that's exactly what we do. So we want to go to gyms and focus on everything that they do, plus their 2-star fighters or their 3-star fighters, you know what I mean? And start catching them. Again, we're grassrooting the whole thing. So that's been one of the greatest. I love it. I love the project. I love the group I'm with.
Sounds
and
great,
it's MMA Futures is the Twitter, and then MMAfutureslive.com. And I'm commentating. So I commentate all the shows. Me and Jake Kurtz, he's my partner, does the commentating. Nathan, Tommy, the cameraman, and stuff like that. So that's been a lot of fun to go out there. And that's how you go in there. And I've been tweeting. It's the Jens_Pulver. Someone jacked Jens Pulver, and I can't have it back. So I get Jens_Pulver. Yeah, go figure. They're squatting on it too, so it sucks. And I have my 2 guys that I do coach. Rafian Stotts is going to make his fighting debut in an amateur show March 29th, And then my 125 pounder, bottom line, I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, I will check it out. I promise you.
Jose Aldo, I pointed in Sacramento. I pointed down at him and said, that's the guy I never want to fight because he's going to be a world champion.
Really?
I know when people have it, this 125 pounder, he's got it.
I'm curious. I will watch it. I promise you.
And this 45 pounder, Rafion, people need to watch out. Here's what's scary about Rafion. He was a junior in high school when he started wrestling.
Okay.
He won the state title in Texas. There's no 1A, 2A, 2. It's all one big tournament. Yeah. He won it in Texas and then went on to win two Division II college national titles. He started as a junior.
Awesome.
You know what it's like to have that kind of canvas to paint on? Oh, my. This 45-pounder is no joke. I mean, he's amazing. So my 25-pounder, my 45-pounder are the ones that have stuck with me, and so they're going to start making their mark, and you'll be able to see them on MMA Futures as well. And so that's my biggest plug. I get really excited talking about Never Fly Solo. Again, this is one way to help with anxiety and depression, and we do it through writing, you know, and having a like-minded people and doing a group. And then, again, grassrooting MMA and getting out there while they're still starting and they're still beginning and giving them camera time and having me and Jake commentate and streaming them live. And so we're having fun. So all the support we can get for that would be beautiful. Like I said, MMA.
I will try to give my best from Germany. I promise you.
Hey, do it. Do it. If you want old Jim Powder, yeah, I know the translation. Jens Pulver, come over there. I want to bring the whole group, man. I want to come out without a doubt.
Cool. Okay, so that's all from my side.
All right,
thank you very, very much. It's really an honor for me to talk to you. You were the person that hooked me up with the UFC. I was starting watching MMA when the old UFC tapes came out on VHS tapes and stuff, but you were the person that really hooked me with MMA and showed me that's some awesome sport. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. I'd love to get out there and visit someday.
Okay.
All right, my friend.
So have a nice evening. Yeah.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.